I think, without the Wii U, we probably wouldn't have had the reset that we saw with the Switch.
When it comes to selling hardware, Nintendo usually doesn't fail. From the smash success of the DS line all the way back to their roots with the NES, and even some of their more unorthodox hardware. It's hard to think of a Nintendo console not doing well.
Wii U sales were very low in January and February this year, according to the latest NPD data. This is worse than any week for the Wii, Xbox 360, or PlayStation 3.
While the Switch has proven to be a financial and critical success in every way possible, it wasn't too long ago that Nintendo's hardware was in a tough position with low sales and a general lack of interest in the Wii U.
Gamers weren't buying what Nintendo was selling.
On this episode of IGN Rewind, we're taking a look back at how Nintendo's major misfire led to the release of one of the most successful consoles of all time, the Nintendo Switch. Before we get into everybody's favorite portable, non-portable hybrid, we need to talk about the Wii and how its success influenced Nintendo's approach to the next two generations of hardware. Released in 2006, the Wii was a major turning point in home consoles in more ways than one. With its unconventional movement-based controls, the introduction of a digital store, and smash hits such as Wii Sports and Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, it was obvious that Nintendo not only learned that it could be a market leader with unique gameplay and hardware, but Nintendo also proved over 100 million times that the Wii didn't need cutting-edge graphics and expensive hardware to outsell the competition.
All I do is throw that ball up in the air, and when oh, jeez.
This is IGN's Chief Content Officer, Per Schneider. He's been in the games industry for quite a while, and you've probably seen or read something of his at IGN. But if not, you've definitely seen him here.
So if you go back in time, to the NES and the Super NES, Super Famicom age, Nintendo was at the cutting edge of hardware design, right? They created some pretty amazing consoles, graphics power-wise, they ran circles around the competition, control-wise, right? Like the Nintendo gamepad is basically what we're still using today in evolved form. As it looked at its competitors and its competitors were starting to become more and more PC-like in their approach to console prowess hardware, Nintendo pulled back and said that their business is not we call it the Gillette razor blade model, where you give the razor away and you make money on the razor blade, which is you give the console away and make money on the games. Nintendo didn't want that model and wanted a model where it still sold the console at a profit.
What we're unveiling is the next leap in gaming to a place where playing is no longer just about looks, it's about the feel.
Fast forward to the Wii. When the Wii was announced, we were all expecting it to do at least 1080p visuals, and it didn't. It was firmly a last generation console that could do 480p, but nothing more than that. And that was all cost.
While the Wii was a smash hit and sold over 101 million consoles by 2012, it was time for something new. Nintendo hoped to replicate that success with the Wii's follow-up console, the Wii U.
There was definite fatigue towards the sort of game experiences the Wii offered. And so when that was happening, the Wii U was announced. It was trying to be a Wii, it was trying to be an HD console, and it was trying to be a Nintendo DS.
Outside of its name that was confusing to many, the console featured a different approach to home console gaming. While the Wii was constrained to a TV screen, the Wii U featured the ability to play games both as a traditional home console and as a pseudo-handheld system. It's obvious to see how the Switch evolved from the Wii U's gamepad and its overall gimmick of being a home console meets Game Boy. Both systems feature a large display sandwiched between two controllers and can be docked when you want to play it on a TV. Unlike the Wii U with its clunky oversized gamepad, dock, Wii sensor bar, and the console itself, the Switch took the Wii U's portable capabilities and consolidated it into a sleek handheld that can even fit in a fanny pack. Its handheld screen was able to be used without the need for a larger console, and its detachable Joy-Cons were the next evolution of the original Wii's motion controllers. Unlike the Switch, the tech in the Wii U just wasn't ready to offer a true hybrid portable meets home console system. If someone wanted to play exclusively on the gamepad screen, they were limited to 3 hours of battery life, and had to stay within 26 unobstructed feet from the console itself. While this is a cool idea on paper, unless you lived in a wall-less cave and had to fight to use the TV to play Nintendogs, it's nowhere near as practical as playing the Switch on a plane. The Wii U's similarities with the Switch end there. And for Nintendo, the next 5 years would be a harsh lesson critically, optically, and financially.
Wii U sales were very low in January and February this year, according to the latest NPD data. Nintendo's new console sold just 57,000 units in January, managing to up that number slightly to 64,000 in February. This is worse than any week for the Wii, Xbox 360, or PlayStation 3.
In the 3 months between the start of April and the end of June, the company sold just 160,000 Wii U units globally, which is astonishingly low.
Released in November, Wii U sold 3 million units by the end of December, a decent launch that outpaced most others in recent history. But sales have since fallen off a cliff as the console has suffered an almost total absence of new releases. Earlier this year, Nintendo lowered its sales expectations.
The video game console market is really interesting, right? It kind of goes in waves. Nintendo was dominant in the NES era. Certainly in the Super NES era, I had some fierce competition from Sega in the US, but killed it in Japan, and then run into some challenges afterwards. And so every generation has been different.
The gamepad's touchscreen felt more like a relic from the early 2000s than a new piece of cutting-edge technology, unlike the Wii and 3DS, due to Nintendo opting to go with a more cost-effective single touchscreen approach. Nintendo's Wii U woes didn't end there. The console faced a unique issue in how it was marketed and named. Its marketing campaign was dull, confusing, and did a very poor job at telling consumers why they need to pay $300 for what many assumed was just an expensive peripheral for the Wii.
Hey, it's time to watch some baseball. Okay.
And a runner on second. Swing and a miss. 98-mile-per-hour fastball.
This was a hard lesson learned, because in an interview with CNBC during E3 2013, the former president and CEO of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, stated, quote, "We are to blame. We relaxed our marketing efforts, so the consumers today still cannot understand what's so good and unique about the Wii U. Because we're always trying to be unique, it takes some energy on our side to help people understand the real attractions about whatever we are doing." While console generations are nothing new, and the vast majority of consumers know that the next generation is usually bigger and better, the naming of the Wii U wasn't as clear as something like the Xbox 360, PlayStation 5, or even the Nintendo Switch.
I think the Wii U name was one of Nintendo's biggest mistakes in the console business. I don't know if it was based on market research that looked at perhaps a little bit too much of the casual market. There was definitely, when it was first announced, there was some confusion around whether Wii U was a standalone console or whether it was an extension to the Wii. And so instead of saying our next console is a new step, a new experience, Nintendo clung on to that connective tissue and thought there was more brand equity in the Wii name than maybe there was. Wii U is not a name that is easily said. It's not a pretty word in English. It is a convoluted, lockup of too many vowels. And Wii U is a truly, truly terrible name. I really don't like it.
Nintendo made sure you knew exactly what the Switch was about from the moment you saw its new, hip, and stylish reveal. Gameplay clips and close-up shots of Mario were replaced with stylish and well-dressed 20-somethings playing the same game at home and on the go. Compare this again to the Wii U, and it's clear that Nintendo learned a valuable lesson in how to sell their next console. The software launch window for the Wii U was a night and day difference compared to the Switch. While the Wii U launched with Pikmin 3 and New Super Mario Bros. U, the rest of its first year left a lot to be desired with titles such as Nintendo Land, Zombie U, and everybody's favorite entry in the Call of Duty franchise, Call of Duty Ghosts. The Switch, on the other hand, launched with IGN's current greatest game of all time, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and later that year, Super Mario Odyssey. Interestingly enough, most of the critically acclaimed Wii U exclusives were eventually ported to the Switch. This not only made it seem like the system was getting new first-party software regularly, but also continued the age-old Nintendo tradition of proving that people will buy the same games from them many times over. And even though Breath of the Wild was initially announced as a Wii U game, it's mostly known for its superior Switch port thanks to its slightly better graphics and improved audio capabilities. In 2013, just 1 year after the Wii U's launch, the console's market share had all but stagnated. EA, Bethesda, and Ubisoft had separately announced that they were either sunsetting support for the Wii U entirely or scaling back production of games to ones that were deemed necessary. The hits kept coming for Nintendo, and shortly after this announcement, Sony and Microsoft revealed their next generation of consoles. and the Wii U's market share shrunk even further. It was obvious that Nintendo failed to capture the market with the Wii U, as it had done earlier with the Wii.
So with the, Nintendo flew high with the Wii, and when the Wii U came crashing down, I think it was a really humbling experience because Nintendo was trying to replicate the success of the Wii, do something clever with their hardware, do it cost effectively so, and have backwards compatibility, all these things designed around the user experience, but somehow gamers weren't buying what Nintendo was selling.
While the idea of a hybrid console meets handheld gimmick would eventually go on to be a success, the disaster that was the Wii U may have been a necessary but harsh lesson Nintendo needed to create one of the most successful consoles of all time.
The Nintendo Switch reportedly had a strong start to its life, selling around 1.5 million units in its first week. That figure comes from analyst SuperData. 500,000 Switch consoles were sold here in the US, while 360,000 were sold in Japan. Europe isn't far behind. The UK bought 85,000 units, and France took home a little more with 110,000. Nintendo announced last week that sales in Europe, Japan, and the Americas during the first 48 hours were the company's best ever.
The Switch reveal was a completely different story from the Wii U reveal. Nintendo has a certain style, and certainly when you compare the way the commercials looked and the reveals looked, they try to portray this sort of, togetherness and people being out in the real world or a living room playing their games rather than focusing on the in-game visuals, right? And so there was a lot of similarity between showing people having fun with the Switch and people having fun with the Wii U. And then there was just something about the sophistication. I encourage everyone to go back and watch the Wii U commercials. They're pretty bad.
So, you want a Wii U this holiday? We'll watch and learn. Here's Mom. We already have a Wii, Sweetiekins. Here's you. Wii U is a total upgrade, Mother.
For being commissioned by such a high-profile ad agency, they're trying so desperately to be mainstream and oh shucks, family values appealing that they felt dated, even the year they were showing. Because all the things that the people are saying is just it's so grating, and you're not watching the Wii U marketing going that's me. You're watching it going oh my God, that's some really bad dad energy.
Wii U. With Wii U, we can play Super Mario 3D World.
Whereas with Switch, we kind of laughed at the notion that you could break out a console at a party and not be made fun of. They were kind of right. I think we all did that, right?
Gone was the safe and corporate Wii-era marketing in favor of a more hip and focused approach that clearly conveyed what the system was capable of. The Switch logo locks into place, and every ad during its launch window made sure to show the consumer exactly how versatile the Switch's portable meets home console system was. According to Nintendo, the Switch was selling so well within its first few months that it was considered the fastest selling console in US history.
Nintendo has announced that its new Switch console sold 2.74 million units worldwide in less than its first month on sale. Nintendo shared the figure in its fiscal year-end earnings release, which it calls a promising start for the console. Nintendo president Tatsumi Kimishima originally expected to ship just 2 million units of the console in its first month. It also revealed that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for Switch has sold 2.76 million copies, meaning 20,000 more units of Zelda for Switch have been sold than there are Switches in the wild. Perhaps tellingly, Nintendo also pointed out launch game 1-2-Switch, saying that it was generating buzz but did not reveal sales figures. Nintendo expects to sell 10 million units of Switch hardware in the next year, meaning the new hybrid console would, in 1 year, come close to outselling the Wii U's 13.5 million lifetime sales.
This new console meets handheld had quickly proven to be one of Nintendo's most successful endeavors ever, which is a far cry from the Wii U's sales capping off at around 13.5 million units sold, thus making it the second lowest selling Nintendo console of all time, only beating the Virtual Boy. So there is that. The Switch is such a success that it not only became a fixture in millions of gamers' homes worldwide, but it also helped pull Nintendo out of a financial situation that had plagued the company for over a decade.
Nintendo has released its 9-month financial results, revealing a continuing decline in both revenue and profit, although software sales are looking up. In the 9-month period ending December 31st, 2013, the company's revenue earnings were down 8.1% from the year before. Profit took a harder hit, falling 30%. As a result of this, AFP reports Nintendo President Satoru Iwata will take a 50% pay cut for the next 5 months in recognition of the downturn in profit, while other board members, Shigeru Miyamoto among them, will take cuts between 20 and 30%.
Fast forward to 2016 after the Switch's release, and Nintendo began to show consistent growth in the double digits with no indications of slowing down. In addition to profitable console sales, Nintendo has sold over 1 billion games on the Switch. To put that in perspective, the 3DS, which had a shelf life of nearly 10 years, is reported to have only sold 391.59 million games, and the PlayStation 2 sold a little over 1.3 billion games. That's a whole lot of Zeldas.
I think none of us predicted that the Switch would be the success that it became. I've been covering Nintendo since the 90s, and we hadn't seen a launch year lineup like the Switch before. It was just, you had everything was there.
The Wii U was a necessary failure and a harsh lesson that Nintendo needed in order to create not only a revolutionary portable, not portable console, but also one of the most profitable and wildly successful video game consoles ever.